sometimes I'm scrolling through Instagram or I go through YouTube or I'm on YouTube and I see dudes kind of reviving pickup, which I think is kind of interesting. I think it's based on what I'm seeing, I think it's certainly necessary, but it's always a split. Half of the content I see is like really terrible and like the opposite of what people should do, or it's just maybe it gets to the point, but it misses some of the nuance that's super important. And then the other half is like fantastic, solid advice that most people will not follow because it actually requires some effort and it's a little bit difficult, which is a problem for people in general because people just don't like to do things that are difficult. But the other day I was kind of scrolling through Instagram. I saw this video. It's teaching men's fashion. And by the way, this video is not like a bash on him. I think he has fantastic content. But I saw he did one video about like how to be more attractive, how to make more women like you, all that stuff. And it was one of those videos where it's like unnecessary. It was just, in my opinion, it was just dumb. I think it was about like making eye contact, but making like this very subtle eye contact to the ground in a certain way so that the girl perceives you a certain way. Could it work? Maybe, sure. But it's such a small thing and it lacks so much importance that it's not worth really listening to. It's not worth really taking into consideration. So I chimed in with what I think on the comments is a better strategy, or at least a better technique, strategy, whatever, that most dudes could use or should use, but I tend to find they don't use. So I wanted to do a video sharing that with you, just kind of briefly sharing that with you. And so basically what this technique is, I learned this a few years ago. It's called the Casanova Technique. Now, really quick background, I highly recommend you do some research on Casanova. I know people say Casanova and they always think about it from the sense of him just being like flirtatious or him maybe being like a playboy, whatever. And that did seem to be a part of his life. But he's a fascinating dude in general, from at least the stuff I've read and the videos I've watched about him, just because he was kind of a social chameleon. Like he was really good at just like blending into society when he wanted to. He wasn't always good at doing it, but it seemed like sometimes he just didn't want to do it because he had his own mindsets and his own perspectives, whatever. But when he wanted to, he was very good at blending into society. He was very good at being likable, which is a big thing, being likable. And he was good at just kind of being seductive, not just towards women, but also toward men as well. There's another, actually, as a side note, there's another guy. I wish I knew his name off the top of my head. I was watching a video on him a few months ago, and he was like this really good guy at seducing. He reminded me of Casanova. And I think people at the time, this is probably like 50, 60 years ago, they called him a Casanova. I think he grew up in like Colombia or some Spanish speaking country or territory. And long story short, the dude basically became rich solely because he was basically good at pickup. That's basically it. He didn't really have any real skills. He wasn't like super educated. He would just meet a girl, get the girl to fall in love with him, and she'd inevitably like make him money. And not like in a weird so there's some people that are famous right now for doing something similar to that in a trafficky way. He didn't do that. What I mean by that is he would find girls who are like high status, not intentionally. He would just meet them. They'd happen to be high status and they had money and they would just buy him things. Like one girl bought him a car. One girl's dad was like this, I think it was like the governor or some like high level politician. And he ended up marrying the daughter just to make the father happy. And the father ended up like hiring him as like this envoy. And he would go overseas on behalf of this like politician. It was a crazy story. I wish I could find the guy. If I do find him by the time this video comes out, I'll leave it down in the description and you can go check out videos of him yourself. But I think the idea of just being likable and just being likable to certain types of people when you want to be is a skill in itself. It's not an easy skill to pull off. I'm still trying to learn how to do it myself. But this Casanova technique I've tried and I think is a pretty good technique for most guys to implement without that much thought put into it or without that much strain or effort. It's certainly easier than like cold approach or things like that. And so basically, what is the Casanova technique? Essentially, when you meet a girl, when you're talking to her, you compliment her on the things opposite to what you'd imagine she'd get complimented on. Now, if that sounds confusing, just let me break this down for a second. When I was doing pickup, one of the things I learned is that a lot of dudes use the exact same generic compliments when they talk to girls. They'll come up to a girl and say, "Oh, you're so pretty. Oh my God, you're so beautiful. Oh, you're gorgeous, whatever." Just go on any Instagram post with a attractive girl, and you'll see every dude in the comments saying the exact same thing. Dudes are not creative when it comes to like complimenting girls. They're not very perceptive. They don't pay attention to the girl, which is why I think their comments go, they're not reciprocated. The girls are apathetic towards what the things they say because there's no real thought put into the things that the guys are saying. Same with like Tinder and these dating apps. I have female friends who either used to use Tinder and dating apps or still use the Tinder dating apps. And if you go through the things that guys say, guys are so boring and so generic and so basic. Hey, hi, how are you? You're pretty. Hi, hey, what up? Hi. It's just the same exact comment. It doesn't make you stand out. Now, what the Casanova effect is if you were to see this girl that's like remarkably attractive, and I think we all can kind of get an idea of a girl that is average versus a girl that's hot. I think if you're a guy watching this, you kind of get a mental picture of what the difference between those two are. If you see a girl that's hot, rather than say you're hot or rather than compliment her looks or even her body, you compliment her intelligence. You talk about how smart she is. You try to ask questions to get a feel of how intelligent she is. You validate her based on her intelligence, not her looks. And the opposite is true. If you see a girl that might look a little bit more average or might look a little bit less attractive, or maybe she doesn't put that much effort directly into her appearance. And I'm not saying she's ugly. I'm just saying that there are some girls that, I'm sure you understand this, put more effort into looking attractive versus some girls that might just be naturally attractive, but they don't emphasize that. They might want to put other things out on the forefront as things that they might want to be known for. Like maybe they want to put out, there's some girls that, you'll talk to them and they try their very best to seem like the smartest person in the room. They talk a lot about chemistry or physics, or I call them left brain people, left brain versus right brain people. If you meet someone that's more left brain as a girl, you compliment them on their looks. You talk about how attractive they are, how they dress very well, things like that. And the reason why you're doing this is because you're giving them the opposite. I think everyone in general wants to be validated for a variety of things. Like as a dude, you probably don't get complimented on your looks, but you sure would like it if someone called you handsome, or if someone said that you were really attractive, or say, for example, you're a dude that's not super tall, but if someone said, "You're very tall, you seem really tall to me," it'd be validating. It means more because it's the opposite of what you usually get. And so that's kind of what the Casanova effect is. If you see a girl that's attractive, that's like blatantly attractive, she gets complimented on that thing so much that it loses its value. So to stand out from other dudes and to kind of give her more valuable validation, you validate her on something else, her intelligence, something that maybe most dudes wouldn't even dare to point out because they don't care or they're not thinking about it. And the contrary is also true. Like I said, if you meet a girl that's maybe not emphasizing the looks as much, maybe she's emphasizing the intelligence, compliment her on her looks. And you have to kind of play it by ear. And I think this comes with the whole idea of reading people, which I think is a part of pickup. There's some different challenges. There's a book I recommend. If you're listening to this, I recommend this. There's a book called The Art of the Game. I think it's called The Rules of the Game by Neil Strauss. And I think it's like a 30 to 60 day challenge book. So every day you're doing one of the things that he recommends in the book, and they get progressively harder. So I think like the very first day is just like saying hi to people. Second day is like complimenting people. Third day is complimenting girls. Fourth day is like complimenting girls on their outfits or something like that. Every day gets progressively harder. I think like the seventh day is you compliment a group of girls while they're surrounded by dudes at a bar. It just gets progressively more challenging. One of the things, at least I found when I did those challenges, is it changes your perception of people. Like I think when you just, perhaps I'm wrong, but I know this is true for me at least. Before reading those books and before getting to pick up, when I meet people, it'd be a very straightforward interaction. I only listen to the things they say. And to be honest, sometimes a lot of the stuff they say kind of went in one ear and out the other. I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably have experienced that. You might do this a lot yourself. A lot of people do it. When I started doing the whole pickup thing, you kind of train your brain to notice more about the individual. And this is for a lot of different reasons. Like, for example, one thing, not to go on too much of a tangent, but one thing in pickup is called like cold reads. Cold read is basically you see someone and you make an assumption about them. The assumption could be incorrect, but you're making an assumption about them, which kind of it kind of creates a little bit of rapport in a certain way. Like if you see a girl and she's wearing like a suit, whatever, you can say, "Oh, you're wearing a suit. You must work for like a law firm, or you must be rich." I don't know. You just say something. It's just a cold read. Like you're making an assumption about that person that could be completely untrue, but that's not the point. It's just to start conversation, to build rapport. But in order for you to make that kind of comment, you have to actually be paying attention to the things that she's wearing. You have to be paying attention to things about the person, which a lot of people actually do not do. So when you start doing some of the things in pickup, that's some of the things you kind of just get trained to do that. You'll start to notice things like, even this is true for guys and like you notice this about guys and girls. Like I'll be out and I'll see a dude wearing like Chelsea boots, and you just start to like notice more things about people. You notice when people's hair is weird, when their glasses are kind of crooked, when they're wearing piercings, when they're wearing certain types of piercings, when they have a lot of tattoos versus no tattoos, when they walk a certain way, if they touch themselves a certain way. Like you'll notice these like little micro details about people, like small subtle things that I think most people don't really notice, and they don't even try to think about, or they don't even know to think about. To kind of tie everything back around, that's basically what the Casanova technique trick is. Again, you need to start being a little bit more perceptive in general in order to really pull off that technique. But you're essentially complimenting a girl. This works for dudes too, by the way, but we're talking about girls here. You compliment a girl based on the opposite of what you can reasonably perceive she'd usually get complimented on. Does that make sense? Like I said, if she's hot, don't say she's hot. Say she might be really smart. If she's really smart, or if you can tell that she's trying to like lean into her intelligence, compliment her on her beauty or her attractiveness. It's just a way to build rapport, and it makes you stand out from every other dude. So hopefully that all made sense. As always, leave a like if it did, leave a comment if you agree or disagree, and please be sure to subscribe. At the time of making this video, I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, hopefully within the next like 2 months, if I can pull it off. But I need your help to pull it off. So please subscribe. Please share the video with other people that might get some benefit out of this. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.